Hey, this is Adam from It Takes Two Takes, doing something a little different this time. Myself, Andrew, and Brent are going to see Godzilla vs. Kong all together. But the difference is, instead of doing it a watch together here online, we're going to do it in the theater. Now, obviously, we can't take our cameras or anything like that into the theater, so you can't actually watch us reacting live to it. But we are going to go to the theater for the first time this year. I think the last time I was there was for Tenet last year. For Andrew and Brent, it might have actually been Star Wars Episode 9. It's possible. So, in any case, we're going to go see the movie in the theater right now. So, here we go.
On my way to see Godzilla versus Kong. This is going to be our... Oh, shit. Did I forget a mask? Hang on. I got to turn around. Anyway, so, yeah, going to see Godzilla versus Kong in theaters. I figured that was the best way to see it. These two titans duking it out, of course. Adam agreed. And we're going to get together and talk about this thing after we see it. I'm sure we'll have some other clips on the way to the theater or at the theater. But regardless... looking forward to seeing what everyone thinks of this movie. My kids one day are gonna be like, Dad, what did you do when the pandemic was over? Like, well, when things were getting a lot better at least, I went and saw a big dumb monster movie. Hey everyone, Adam and Andrew and Brent here with It Takes Two Takes. We're gonna talk about Godzilla versus Kong. But before we do that, if you're into this movie, you're into sci-fi. If you like Millie Bobby Brown, we did a review on Enola Holmes. Don't plug that, Adam. That's a very old review. Do not show the Enola Holmes review. But yeah, if you're into all that, look, we got reviews, reactions. I've recently got introduced to anime for the first time. If all that kind of stuff interests you, check out our channel, give us a like, subscribe. If nothing else, give us a comment. We like the discussion. That's it. I don't want to waste breath there. We have a lot to talk about. Before we kick this off, number one, I feel like it's important to establish that we saw this in a movie theater, right?
Correct. We actually went to a movie theater and saw it on the large screen. It did come out today on HBO Max, but it just felt like one of those movies you need to see in the theater. You know,
if you want to see giant monsters fight, you have to see it on a big screen. I don't care how big your TV is. I mean, you had to see giant monsters fight on a big screen TV.
Right, like we're basically shaming you if you watch this on HBO Max. So
I mean,
for the
I
first
hope this
time,
hasn't turned
repeat viewings. I will watch it on my TV for repeat viewings, but first time Godzilla and Kong fighting since the first time since what, the 1960s, Brent? So
yeah, since the
50-something
60s
years, I feel like it's been. Or
yeah.
64
that,
maybe.
that was a Japanese company doing. This time it was Hollywood, big special effects.
And you want them as large as life as they make them seem on the screen. So you want them as big as they can be.
Now,
and you can't get that anywhere else but a movie theater.
Yeah, and I would say, look, rundown. We're going to quickly talk about our thoughts about this movie. No spoilers
right.
For now. No spoilers. Once we get done with it, just brief overview. We'll have some timestamps in the description, maybe even in the comments. We'll jump ahead and just have a spoiler, session, conversation, right?
We will warn you if you have not seen it when we get into the spoiler territory.
So we're in a safe little space bubble. But the reality is this is available out there in streaming services. We hope you've seen it. But regardless, let's give high level thoughts.
I mean, it's a popcorn flick. I mean, it was what I was expecting when I went in. I don't think, just like the other ones, if you look at Godzilla, you look at Kong, Skull Island, you look at King of Monsters, the human characters aren't really what you're there to see. And so I wasn't expecting them to blow me away or to be great or anything like that. We're there to see giant monsters fight. And that's what I wanted to see. And I saw that, it's a good popcorn flick. I think expectations, if you like the other movies, you'll like this one too. Obviously, it's a giant monster movie, so lots of suspending of disbelief. But no, I enjoyed it. It was a good popcorn flick, and I was happy to see those two big titans go at it. So I enjoyed it as a good popcorn flick. Yeah, if you start analyzing it, there are lots of flaws that we can, I'm sure we'll get into in the spoiler territory. But, for giant movie theater experience movie, I was good.
I agree. It's a monster movie. You don't come here for the story. But what I did like about the story is, as the opening credits came, they gave you a little bit of history about the Hollow Earth and, where the monsters reportedly came from. But much past that, the story, not great, but you're here for giant monsters beating the crap out of each other. So 10 to 10 for me on that.
Yeah, I don't know that there's anything I would say that hasn't already been said in terms of, what you're coming to get. And I feel like one positive about this movie is this. I feel like this movie knows what you're coming to get, right? Whereas like, some of the flaws of the previous installments, I felt like where they were investing maybe too much in whether it was the weight of characters that they believed were there or the time spent on the human characters that they felt was necessary. Whereas I feel like in this one, it didn't really overstay its welcome with the time they spent on the human characters, and it kind of moved along at a fairly brisk pace. I mean, the overall movie is less than 2 hours, which is pretty phenomenal in 2021, even for an action flick. So
well, it wasn't done by Zack Schneider.
It wasn't done by Zack Snyder.
It would have been 4 hours long,
I feel like, aside from some of the story flaws, like you said, that we would talk about.
Motion,
No, there was some of that, but it was effectively done, of course. And Junkie XL came for this film, oddly enough.
Well, there goes our comments just blowing up right now.
Look, I know Adam loves to just like completely start weeding out anybody watching this. And in fairness, we have been very, relentlessly harassed by that crew. I would just say that, it comes down to that. And I feel like Adam Wingard, who directed, I enjoyed the monster fights. I thought they were so well done. I loved how some of the way the camera would follow them. It almost felt like you were watching like a Rocky film or some sort of a fight where like you had that almost like had that camera that would just fall down with them as they were hitting the ground, or they'd be throwing punches and the camera would be moving with them or with their tail. I just thought it was a spectacle, and it absolutely paid off in terms of seeing it in theater.
Yeah, I agree. I think, if you enjoy Godzilla movies and Kong movies and you enjoy going to the movie theater, then absolutely go see this in the theater. Get a big thing of popcorn.
Maybe a vaccination if you can afford, if you can make that work.
If your theater is doing a good job with distancing and stuff like that, then great, go see it in the theater. If not, obviously, you can watch it on HBO Max starting today. So yeah, I'd say definitely go check it out. And if you're into it, if you're not, trust me, if you're not into these type of movies, you are going to find all the flaws very easily and probably not enjoy the movie. So this is absolutely for those fans of the previous films and just giant monster movies in general. So,
and if you are into this kind of movie, but say your partner is not, have no fear. They have a character in here that will get them emotionally attached to the movie.
What character are you talking about?
The little girl.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say it's in the trailer. I guess that's not a spoiler, right?
If you go to the theater, there are trailers in front of this movie that don't make sense to be in front of this movie. So your partner who may not be into this movie will at least enjoy those trailers.
Yeah. And they will enjoy the little girl that's in a movie, because I don't think there was a scene in a movie where she did not have a tear in her eye, and you will feel bad for the little girl all the time.
So with that, I think we're going to get into spoiler territory. So if you have not seen this movie and you do not want spoilers, go ahead and stop this video now, come back and watch the rest of it after you've watched the movie. If you've already seen the movie or you don't care about spoilers, then we are going to get into spoiler territory, and you have been warned. So
I'm glad we're into spoiler territory, because I was going to reveal how many tears came from the little girl's eye.
So many tears came from that little girl's
exact number. I took count.
Like that was like the last thing. Even when he was a lot, like at the end, even then, teared. I understand she's like 8, but every scene the little girl had a tear in her eye. It's
but
like,
at the same
all right.
time, she wasn't like it was that tear going down, but she wasn't like necessarily sobbing and stuff like that. So it was almost like, you were feeling the weight of the situation through her without her being a basket case.
Well,
So
she was feeling the weight of the situation through the ground, apparently, and
yeah,
through ship walls.
yeah.
So,
She's got some sort of extra sensory ability that she can feel the side of a ship and know that Godzilla's coming.
yeah.
I will
Um,
say that the little girl character, when I saw the trailer, I thought it felt very predictable. I'm like, here we go. We got this little kid that's going to have this connection with a monster. Okay.
It's like the
But
Mothra twins.
I feel like the level of uh I don't know how to say this. The level of like acceptance, I guess is the best way to put it, of this character is kind of how I would qualify every human character in this movie, in that nothing about it like was offensively bad. If that's and that's kind of in a monster movie, I feel like that's about the biggest compliment you can give. Like I feel like no, like yes, there were plenty of beats and tropes and character traits and blah 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 that I was like, yeah, okay, I get what we're doing here. Yes, okay, the door's shut behind us. No, now we're trapped, and but at the end of the day, like it followed the necessary beats you need to progress the story and get these monsters together. And in that regard, I was okay with it.
Yeah, you have to have some kind of emotional connection in a movie to progress a plot generally. You can't just have two monsters go at each other.
and if you're a King Kong fan, you're gonna enjoy this, I think, a lot because you're following Kong throughout the movie. I mean, there's only a handful of scenes that have Godzilla in it that don't also have Kong. So they put all the emotion and feeling and stuff like that into Kong, and so you're following him on his adventure, and him and Godzilla intersect at different times. So
That was a hard part for me, was how they humanized Kong so much. Like from the very first scene of the movie, when he's waking up, and like going to scratch his butt, take a shower. It was like, all right.
It's like watching the beginning of Shrek. Like,
right, exactly. It was like, all right, here we go. Suddenly we have, what was her name? Jane.
Gia. The girl?
Well, the lady that trained the monkeys. Jane Austen or Jane somebody
Goodall.
like
Jane Goodall.
Yeah, Jane Goodall.
I thought you were trying to remember the character's name.
No,
I was like, oh, we're making an analogy.
No, Jane Goodall. Going out and training monkeys, sign language and stuff. Like, oh, here we go.
Yeah, I mean, they really did lean into the humanizing of Kong. I think, like, high level though, I understand why they followed Kong, because, like, at the end of the day, like, Godzilla is always kind of I can accept the idea of him, being the quote unquote villain, being that kind of unseen threat until he reveals himself. And the only way you're going to do that when they're going to clash with one another is, I guess, especially when Kong is in captivity at this point in time, doing like a Truman Show thing in the beginning of the movie. But you bring him out on a freighter, and I understand. I mean, especially when you talk about, like you said, with Jane Goodall, in fairness, I mean, yeah, the humanizing of, the emotions and the intelligence of apes, so on and so forth. Okay. But yeah, I know what you're saying. Like it truly does follow Kong, and I can appreciate the villain aspect of Godzilla, but I do wish they would have given him a few more moments. I know, Brent, you had mentioned the little kind of smirk or smile that he gave. It was just that kind of like Easter egg moment.
In the old Japanese movies, Godzilla had a personality. Like he'd smile and he'd say, "Hey, come on," or he'd high five Jet Jaguar.
He'd bounce up and down, clapping.
Yeah, like they gave him some person. The American version of Godzilla is just, he's a dumb dinosaur that
he's just mean. He's always serious. I don't want to call him dumb dinosaur, but he's just a very serious character all the time. Like there's at no point is he ever having fun. At no point is he jovial. At no point do you really humanize him as much as he's always got a mad, pissed off look on his face every time. And we saw that in the first Godzilla movie. What little we saw of Godzilla in that movie, we saw that in King of Monsters. He's just always serious, always whatever it is focused on. And so yeah, I think they at least gave him a moment of emotion this time. And really, a lot of the human characters from King of Monsters, other than Millie Bobby Brown, take a back seat, right? Her dad, who played a big part in King of Monsters, he's in like 3 scenes in this movie, right?
Yeah. And then they had the actor from the was it Hunt for the Wilder People that he was in? He was
Are you talking about the friend of hers?
Yeah.
He was in Deadpool 2.
He was in Deadpool 2. That's true. Yeah. Yeah. He was an okay character. I also liked I can like it, again, this is all paint by numbers, but I did kind of like the podcast spin that all about the conspiracy theory type stuff. And the actor that plays that character is also in Atlanta. If anyone's ever seen Atlanta, he's very good in that. So I was kind of pleased to see him on screen, and I thought he played the role well. Like, I mean, this wasn't like one memorable line after another, but again, not so much that I was just irritated. it did its job.
I was happy in the fact, I mean, there's a lot of suspending in disbelief. Godzilla can tear through, destroyer ships and everything like that with ease. But can't tear through Kong very easily. But at the same time, I love the fact that, when they fought in the water, Kong was completely out of his element. Yeah. Okay. Yes. They got on a ship and he threw a couple of punches. Outside of that, he was getting his butt kicked. Right. And I like the fact that at the end of the fight of them two, at least, Godzilla won, because it would have been absolutely ridiculous if Kong gets his axe and that was the game changer that just makes him win,
But see, what bothered me about the boats was, King Kong was out of his element, had no idea what was going on, but you shut the boats off and now Godzilla doesn't know King Kong's there anymore.
Well, he just decided, he's not a threat anymore. Like, you're going to stop moving him sitting in the middle of the ocean?
I thought he had this sort of ancient drawl to him. That
right. Like that's how he knew Kong was there, through that ancient drawl, like you said. Right. And then because you shut some boats off, he's just like, all right, you shut boats off. Cool.
Right,
I'm out.
I won that round.
And I understand. I understand that you had to suspend a fight to carry on the rest of the movie. It was just kind of a dumb way to.
I would have been more okay with, after Kong is kind of beat down a little bit, laying on the boat like he is. If that was the time that Apex Industries started another test that got Godzilla's attention, and he thought, right, I just got done kicking your butt, and this got more of my attention. Now I'm going over here. That would have been
a great way.
Right. I would have I've been happier with that than, okay,
I shut some boats off.
And he's kind of laying on his back. So I'll go away now. I'm okay with the hollow earth concept in this movie, but they went through a wormhole to get there. That bothered me a little bit.
I understand. So a lot of this, they alluded to Hollow Earth, but they never mentioned it would be sort of this alien feel to it. I had read in an interview, Adam Wingard is a big fan of like Alien and Star Wars. Like, his dream was to do a sci-fi movie. So I feel like he kind of shoehorned his chance, because I mean, this is truly, like, in terms of big budget, like this was his first crack at that.
But the Hollow Earth they had alluded to in the King of Monsters, because that's how they figured Godzilla got around. And to a certain extent, the way they set up the center of the Earth is very much kind of like going back to like your Jules Verne or something like that, of Journey to the Center of the Earth,
center of the Earth sort of moment.
Right.
So you guys are bringing up a huge plot hole right now, because they showed, the image from space that showed the Hollow Earth and all the branches reaching out to different entry points.
Right.
So why did they have to bring him to Antarctica?
That's the one they had already opened up themselves. I don't know if the others are in the water or what, but that was kind of the one that Kong.
Well, apparently, one was on Skull Island.
Right. The Godzilla one, Godzilla and the King of Monsters, that's probably the one that he came up through to fight Ghidorah back in King of Monsters. So I'm assuming they're using that because of convenience, since, hey, we know that goes to the center of the Earth because that's where Godzilla came out. I'm guessing that. I don't know that for a fact, but that just makes sense because it was Antarctica is where Ghidorah was, and Godzilla came up through the snow and ice ultimately when he came to fight Ghidorah down in Antarctica. So I'm assuming they were trying to tie back to that location. But my thing was, and I'm good with the Hollow Earth, but when they go in there and they're like, oh, we got to follow Kong since he knows where he's going. But it's like, you just created a wormhole. You just went through a wormhole that apparently took care of shooting you down the rest of the way, and that was the part that was like, and especially when then you tag on at the end when Godzilla just creates his own hole all the way down to the center of the earth. You're like, did you need the wormhole then?
I'm going to be honest. When that happened, I really thought Godzilla was going to, like, I thought we were about to have a Hollow Earth fight, and I was kind of excited about that concept.
Yeah.
Like, it has just been jumping all over the place. But then I was thinking that almost is too climactic. Like, I need to see. It's not
that. I knew with the fact that I knew going in, due to toys and even international trailer that Mecha Godzilla was going to be in it.
Well, yeah, I knew that. So yeah, I knew that too.
I figured they weren't going to do the fight in Hollow Earth just because of the fact that,
I'm saying a fight.
No, it was too close to the end. I figured that they were going to square off in Hong Kong, and then Mecha Godzilla was going to come out, and they were going to have their Batman v Superman moment where they go, we need to team up against the bad guy.
Oh,
Mothra. I was waiting for one of them to ask, why did you say that name?
Right.
Why do you know that name?
It's just, and the other thing that the plot hole for me was at the end of King of Monsters, you had Rodan and all these other monsters all kneeling before Godzilla, and they're just all bowing down. He's the alpha, but they all exist, and he's cool with them all existing because they're bowing to him. He's the alpha. Where the hell were the rest of them? This alluded to the fact that they're the last two left idea. And it's like,
well, if you watch the beginning of the movie where, they're doing all the pre-movie credits and stuff or whatever. Yeah. You see where they did it like a bracket where, they showed Kong's defeats and they showed Godzilla's people they defeated.
That's where it did make sense to me, because Godzilla at the end of King of Monsters seemed to be okay with the others existing as long as they knew their place and he was king, right?
They must have forgotten.
He must have
that's
changed
the way
his
it
mind.
is in the Japanese movies. Right. In the Japanese movies, there's Monster Island where Godzilla is, and he is the alpha of all that, and they just kind of exist on Monster Island.
Yeah, I just like I said, for me, I felt like that was a little bit of a mismatch between King of Monsters and this movie. Again, the fights were good between them. I mean, I enjoyed the fights.
The fights were awesome.
The fights were awesome. I want to say my favorite part of all the fights was King Kong getting up and doing the Mel Gibson shoulder thrust into the side scraper. Like,
dude, that was some metal shit right there.
Like, shoulder's a little out. We're good. We're good now. Let's go.
I was going to call that moment out as well. And it's not one singular moment, although there is one that I can recall specifically. But, I'd mentioned some of the way that they did the camera angles and the way they kind of, they shot the different action sequences through the animation, of course, and everything. But I love like the raw sort of energy, like of just like them just screaming at each other in each other's face is so cool.
Like when Godzilla at the final, the final defeat before Five Nights at Freddy came out, they
you gotta pause on that reference, by the way. You can't just like throw that out there.
Yeah, go ahead, look that up. So Five Nights at Freddy, if you're, I don't know, under the age of 15, you know what it is. So like Nightmare Bonnie or Nightmare Endo is exactly what Mecha Godzilla looks like. It's terrible. They took away his Beyonce hips. It's outrageous. But when he's standing over him and he's got his foot on his chest and he's screaming at him like, you're a punk. Like, this is it. I'm the king. You need to recognize it. And Kong throws him off of him and he comes back down like, no, I told you. You're over. I'm the badass now. Like, that was awesome for me.
Yeah. I thought that was great. But then we lead into the we need to restart his heart, and we need something that's powerful enough to light Vegas for a week. Oh, look, our ships that we talked about earlier. Oh, look, we mentioned that they will power Vegas for a week. How convenient. It's parked right here.
You can't just skip to the ships without noting that all known pilots of those ships are dead.
Yeah.
Where you have a Hollow Earth guy who wrote a book now piloting, knowing how to use them, and charging the heart of Kong.
Didn't he pilot it down?
And not only that, they didn't show
I don't
a
think
timer.
he piloted it down.
When he handed her the bar fag and everything, was he a passenger?
Yeah,
I thought he was a passenger.
Oh, was
that's
he?
how
Okay.
they made
All
it.
right.
That's how they made it seem.
Yeah. They seemed like he might have been in one of the front seats possibly, but he was not necessarily the one actually piloting it. But what was great was the fact they didn't even do a countdown for like when he decides to shock him, but somehow he does manage to time it well enough to get out of the ship, climb down
A
Kong,
giant ape that's like the size of a football field or 3.
and run a good distance in time for the shockwave where he gets to do the
Yeah, that
Yeah.
timer had to have been like 20 minutes. Like, it's
You want to talk about convenience? Tell me how a giant ape learns sign language undetected in a completely monitored area by an 8-year-old girl?
Right.
I mean, she's saying like whole words and sentences.
Right.
By the end of the movie, like, hey, he's not the enemy. Why would you ever have to teach Kong enemy if like I don't
so wait, am I understanding correctly? You're upset with the chosen linguistics that the girl was giving Kong?
why would you need to know words like enemy and Godzilla? And like what would if I was in captivity, like I would imagine it'd be like food, home, like those basic words like you're teaching,
Right.
not whole conversations of hey, we're going home to see Godzilla.
Apparently,
And
Kong's race is very intelligent because they built a temple in the center of the earth and an axe with the temple had doors and a chair and a special charging stand for the axe, when
and
they need
see
to power it
like
up.
that axe from I believe what our friend at the movie said looked like it was made from a scale of Godzilla.
Right.
So there it
And
looks like
I think the bone was a spine. Or
yeah.
part
So
of a
like
bone. Yeah.
so there that shows a long history of what was going on.
I do appreciate the throwback, some of the throwback stuff they did do, right? I did appreciate, Kong putting the axe in Godzilla's mouth is very reminiscent of the 60s movie where Kong put a tree in Godzilla's mouth,
And I mean, you had Godzilla or you had Kong being carried by helicopters.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have that.
So yeah, I think like Andrew said, there are plenty of criticisms that we can make about this movie, but they're all criticisms I think we all knew going into this movie we were gonna have.
And we're trying to nitpick
The giant
a monster movie.
Yeah, it's kind of low hanging fruit,
right? That's like it's super easy. I mean, that's why Mystery Science Theater was so good because it was so easy.
It's like nitpicking a Michael Bay movie. It's just too easy,
It's like nitpicking a Zack Snyder movie. I mean, if you really want to get down to brass tacks.
As much as we rag on it, it was good to see it on the big screen because I think it also helps that we're looking at it holistically because I feel like we would have ragged on these moments and missed certain things if we had been reacting to it at real time.
Oh, yeah.
And if this movie was like actually came out as like a serious movie, I think we would be 10 times harder on it than we are now.
Yeah.
We realize it was a monster movie and the human side of it is going to be trash.
But in any case, we're there to see the giant monsters. We were happy with the fights. I thought the fights were done well. So
Fights were great.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't, like I said, I was not a fan of Mechagodzilla at all. I think that could have been done much
from a
better.
design standpoint.
Yeah, from design standpoint. I mean, it looked very
Janky.
Michael Bay.
Yeah.
Transformers, Michael Bay type stuff. I think they could have done a little bit different design with that, but overall, giant monsters fights, awesome.
Yeah, I think a roundup kind of to wrap this up. Final thoughts is I enjoyed the movie. I'm sure I'll watch it again. It was a fun popcorn flick. I watched the other ones multiple times. I'm sure I'll watch this one again. And if, anyone who's into this, I'd say go ahead and, check it out if you haven't already.
Agreed.
Yeah, agree. I mean, you know what you're getting. The movie, like I said, you know what you're getting. The movie knows what you're getting. That's a win-win when it comes to a monster flick. So yeah.
But with that, we'd love to hear your thoughts if you've watched the movie, or are you interested in the movie? Do you disagree with any of our thoughts on this? Were you in love with any of these characters and we just kind of shit on them this entire time? Leave us comments down below, and we'll be happy to hear them. We'll see you next time with It Takes Two Takes.
Hey everyone, Andrew with It Takes Two Takes. We're playing some royalty-free music, so don't even bother Shazamming that one. We got videos over here I think you're gonna enjoy, and there's a button over here I'm gonna enjoy. Let's make this all work together, right? Please subscribe, check out what else we have going on. Thanks for watching.